There we go.
That is
Backstage with Marty. So, couple questions I'm just going to throw out, and then you can kind of just take it from there. I was looking at where did you grow up? Have you always been an active person? Because you're in great shape for 51. You're in great shape for 21. So, and did you always want to be like a gym, like a business owner? Is that something that has always been in your growing up, a dream of yours? Walk us through that.
Wow. Yeah. It's a bizarre story, bro. And I'll try to keep it as brief as I can. My journey, really, you would never know how I got to where I am based on where I was. When I was about 5, I woke up one morning and my knees were hurting. And what do you know at 5, and my mom tells me this story more than I remember it, but I complained about it every day. I woke up the next day, they were a little more swollen. They stopped bending. They stopped working correctly. Long story short, I wind up in a doctor's office. They send me to the hospital for some tests. Turns out I have juvenile rheumatoid arthritis. And by that point, my knees were so swollen that they wouldn't bend at all anymore. So I was going through these treatments where they would take these, as a 5-year-old having one of those hypodermic needles. And they have 3 or 4 nurses trying to hold me down, and they're sticking these needles in my knees and draining all this fluid out. It was a nightmare. At one point, I spent about 2 weeks in the hospital because the inflammation was just so great. If they drained them on one day, they were filled again the next, trying to get me into a whirlpool to walk. So there was a period of time pre-first grade where I spent time in a wheelchair because that's just the way my life was going. And no one really knew at the time what to do. Motrin, Advil, ibuprofen wasn't invented yet. So all they had for me was children's aspirin, and who knows how many of those they were having.
Jägermeister.
No wonder my dad drank so much. I get it now. All I did was cry. And so, and then I had God bless her heart, Mom, I love you so much. She was just super protective, still is to this day. Don't run, don't do this, don't do that. You can't do this, you can't do that. So for a long time, my whole life was about everything I can't do, what I shouldn't do. And I was very lucky. By the time I was probably in about 3rd grade, it just backed right off, kind of went into a state of remission. And I still to this day have flare-ups, not just in my knees, but all over my body. But it got to a point where I was functional. I was able to do things.
And is that something that's similar to a does it have something to do with like a chemical imbalance or anything like that? Like what is that called? Gout? Like where it's a buildup of lactic acid? Like, is it something similar to that?
It's actually an autoimmune disease that they don't really have a specific trigger for, but your body starts to treat the connective tissue, the soft tissue that covers your joints, as an enemy and attacks it and tries to break it down and destroy it. So you wind up with this incredible inflammation where if the soft tissue does get eroded, then you have bones touching bones. If you're young enough, sometimes that collagen will grow back. If this happens to you late in life, rheumatoid arthritis, you're in really big trouble. Then you're looking at joint replacements and things like that. So I was fortunate to be diagnosed with JRA, but at that point, what do you do with a 5, 6, 7, 8-year-old that doesn't understand pain, doesn't know what to do with it, wants to run and play with all the other kids. And then at school, you get that tag. You're the guy that when it's time to select teams at gym class, you are always picked last.
That's a
Nobody wants you. And they have nicknames for you. And it was hard, bro. I really lived a very challenging life. And so what was the off for me was I got smart. I just decided to be a good student. I loved to read. I loved music. There's never been a day of my life gone by that I did not put a record on, turn on my iPod. There's music. I got to have it in my life. I had a great collection of records. And when I couldn't go out, when I couldn't run, when I couldn't play, I put a record on. And music was and always will be a saving grace for me.
And this was all in Pennsylvania, or?
Yeah, I grew up in a town called Levittown, which there's 2 of them. There's one in New York and there's one in Pennsylvania. And they were built in the 50s by a man named George Levitt. And his idea was to create this beautiful little utopia where people coming back from the war would be able to set up their homes, raise families. They built these 1- and 2-story homes, sometimes in a single day. And they called them sections. And each section may have had 200 houses or 300 houses in it. Every section was named after a tree. I lived in Apple Tree. There was Dogwood. There was Blue Ridge. There was Crabtree. And so there were all these little spliced out neighborhoods where people went out back and they talked to each other over their back fences. We borrowed sugar from one another. It really was an amazing place to be that was full of children. There's kids everywhere. So
Wow.
I never needed anything to do. I never needed to make a friend. Trying to be part of those cliques was my biggest issue growing up. And I really didn't have too much of a plan with where my life was going to go until I started to get into high school and got my first job on a landscaping crew, because that's just what we do out here as young kids. The adults don't want to dig the holes. Give it to the 15-year-old or the 16-year-old. He'll dig the hole.
Hey, you want to make some money? That'll work, right?
Dude, I wanted video games, bro. I couldn't wait to get some money, man. By that point, my parents had been divorced for many years, so I was a single child. My mom was working multiple jobs trying to just keep the house and keep our lives going. So there was nothing unless I found a way to do it myself. I delivered newspapers when I was a kid, became a landscaper, and then realized I don't want to dig these holes anymore, man. I want to do what that guy's doing, and that guy's doing the drawing, and he's the architect. So
you've always been an entrepreneur. You've always thought outside of the box. You've always went out and found ways to make things happen.
Yeah, find a way to just always making money, always working, man. I can't imagine not doing it, but I just I want money. I want to work. I want to have things, And
very cool.
Decision to hit the only farm school on the East Coast, which is now Delaware Valley University, and that's where I went to college to become a landscape architect. And personal training, owning a gym was never in my sights.
Really?
Never. I wish it would have been. But it wasn't. I loved being outside. I loved creating things. I loved that aspect of life. It was all I knew. I worked that life every day. And
how long? So you started doing landscaping in your teens. Did it move into your 20s, like after high school? And did you do the manual labor part, or did you go to school and maybe get a degree and get into the architect's side of it?
Yeah, I did all the labor work straight through college. And then when I graduated with 2 majors, one for ornamental horticulture, which I felt like I kind of needed, because if I'm going to be an architect and put plants on it, I need to know what these plants are. So I get qualified in that. And then I also got the landscape architecture degree.
Wow.
So I'd be able to do all of those things, not just on a residential level, but I wanted to do it on a commercial level for shopping malls and airports.
Excellent.
So it was a lot of work, and I graduated college in '92 and had a job 2 days after graduating doing what I thought was going to lead me through the rest of my life. I already had a 1-year-old by then. I was married. My first son was born in '91, and then my second son was born in '95. And about a year after he was born, my wife just kind of came to me one day and said, Marty, I'm not cut out for this. I don't really dig being married. I don't like being a mom. This is not what I thought it was going to be. I just want out. I want to go. And
what? Wait.
Yeah, this is a true story, bro. I can't make this up.
And she just bounced.
I called my dad, my another one. God bless you, Dad, my Irish dad, and said, Dad, tell me what to do. And he said, did she look you in the eyes when she said it? I said, yeah, she looked me right in the eyes. He goes, you got to let her go then. It's done.
Wow. Okay.
So that's what I said. If you want to go, go. And she left, and she never came back, bro, at all.
Have you had any contact whatsoever as far as like with the kids and stuff?
Oh, well, for them, there was a point about, I don't know, maybe 4 years or so later, that she popped in, but it was really kind of like a hello and goodbye. It never turned into serious.
That's frustrating.
It was hard for them. So this is probably 92. So maybe we're in 96, 97, and there I was a single dad, 2 boys, trying to do a job that required I get up at 5 in the morning and sometimes
Oh,
get home at
geez.
10 at night, because if I'm going to talk to homeowners or business owners about what we want to do, I got to meet them at 8 o'clock at night and talk to them. So I was borrowing from everybody, my neighbors, my family. Can you watch my kids? By the time I probably had watched about 6 months of them having somebody else get them to school, having somebody else get them home. It wasn't sitting right. And all this time, answering another one of your questions, from the time I was 12, I was walking myself to the YMCA, going to the gym. The gym is my other refuge in life to get rid of stress. And it was never to be big or be strong or anything. It just felt good. It felt like something that was helping to alleviate stress. I had joined a big LA Fitness out here on the East Coast, and one of the fitness supervisors came to me one day and said, "Bro, you should be a trainer here, man, because I watch people come up and ask you what to do more than they're asking my staff what to do. So why don't you get certified?" So that's how I ended up there.
That actually leads me into something right now, which is, I think, is kind of a perfect segue. I want to talk about fitness and nutrition, and because I mean, when I jumped on the 80s cruise, you're absolutely one of the most fittest individuals on the cruise anyways. And like every time I walk around, like I get to the pool and I'm like, I look and I see you with your shirt off and I'm like, yeah, I'll just leave mine on. I guess because you just look so great. And you can tell that you care about not just the physical aspect of it, but the nutrition side as well. And so when you were talking right now about like certifications and stuff like that, did you go out and get, because you already had the, landscaping and that, and you remove, but now that you're using the gym as your refuge, have you gone out and gotten any type of certificates with like, because you're obviously smart and you're obviously, you love to be a student and gain knowledge. Did you get certificates in nutrition or in physical fitness or in anything like that?
Yeah, and I really have never stopped. I made a choice when I got certified to be just a level 1 personal trainer, to go after a certification that required I continue my education. And a lot of guys, here, they don't do that. There's ways you can get certified, and they choose that certification very specifically because they never have to go back to school again. They get that cert. That's it. They think they're at the top of the food chain. And, when I got certified, I had a great teacher, and he just said, look, when you get out of this, you're going to be the worst coach ever. And a couple of years later, you're going to be an okay coach. And a couple of years later, you're going to be a good coach. And a couple of years later, you're going to be a great coach. And if you're lucky in this lifetime, you're going to be the kind of coach that people beyond your little circle know who you are. And that was what I wanted. And I know all trainers want that, and they probably think that they are a little too soon. But there's so much to know about the human body, dude. It is the most fascinating thing ever. And I've chosen to keep mentors in my life. Physical therapists and chiropractors and orthopedic surgeons that I am extremely friendly with. And we meet and we talk about the body. And 3 nutrition certifications I have so far. 2 different plant-based certifications, a sports conditioning certification. So,
well, that's one thing that interests me. So, my wife leads I wouldn't classify it as vegan, but it's definitely like 90% plant-based. She really tries her best to eat everything plant-based. So basically that means I eat everything plant-based too. So here in the house, literally, I would probably say about 99% of everything in our house is plant-based. And the only time that I eat something that is not plant-based is when we go out and I'll have some tacos or something like that. But in our house, our footprint is almost 100% plant-based. So you actually went out and got a degree in, or got a certification in plant-based nutrition?
Yeah. Fascinating stuff, man. And I know a lot of people ask me, are you a Netflix guy? Have you seen the movie Game Changers? And if you haven't, put that on your list. It's a great movie. But to see a guy that everybody recognized, like Schwarzenegger say, you know, you don't need all of that protein. You can just go with plants. And you start to say, wow, but what was I thinking all this time? But it starts to make sense. And, you know, I'm still a carnivore. You can't take meat away from me. I love it. I eat all varieties of it. But I think similar to what you're saying is, you know, my wife and I probably live about a 80% plant-based lifestyle. It feels good. You know, the energy I get from that, the way my body recovers from workouts, the way I sleep, my mood is more stable. My joints hurt way less. You know, there's a truth to foods being inflammatory, and learning about all that was critical for me, man.
Well, you know what? Here's just a quick question off topic. Well, not on, it's on topic, but off of itinerary. But my, you know, something that you would recommend, because people who would like to, maybe they don't know how to live a plant-based life. Let's give them one recommendation, like, hey, substitute this for this.
The thing to try to do is not to feel like you have to eat broccoli and cauliflower and asparagus in this. You know, people have issues with vegetables, and I get it. You know, my advice to everybody is, look, pick the vegetable you like. Maybe it's corn, maybe it's carrots, doesn't matter what it is. And try to eat that vegetable every single day. If you don't get bored of it, eat it every day. You know, I wouldn't spend too much time trying to make substitutions. As I'm looking in the comments, bro, there is no life without snickerdoodles. Just so you know, no life without it.
That is my dad.
Snickerdoodles in your life, dude. You got to keep them. My issue in life, my cheat, if it ain't a cheeseburger, is a cookie. I love cookies, and they're in my diet. I have a one cookie every day. My wife is a great baker. And it solves that. But, you know, you have to find a way to make sure that you're at least getting a vegetable in your body every day. And then for a lot of folks, after 7, 8, 9, 10 days of that, they start saying, wow, you know, I can feel how that's different for me. Maybe it's a little different about how you get off the toilet in the morning. Maybe it's a little different about how, you know.
Maybe it helps you get on the toilet a little bit more.
Exactly. You know, you're not struggling blowing out blood vessels or anything, but there's always a benefit, man. So,
wow, you watching me? No, I like what my wife, she put up this. She said, eating mostly plant-based has been the best change in my life, physically and emotionally. And my wife is, you know, to tell a family secret, the reason why she kind of went more in that direction was she's a big animal activist. So she, you know, that was her main reason. It wasn't to live a more healthier life, but living a more healthier life was definitely a byproduct of her choice.
And what a side effect that is, right?
Right? How awesome is that?
Oh God, come on, it's great, man.
It's beautiful. So with the certifications that you got, were you getting these certifications only for your own personal knowledge, or at that point were the gears turning about opening up some type of business?
How I wound up opening the business was I stayed with that LA Fitness Club for probably about a year and a half. And I think most trainers at some point start to develop their own style. This is how I do things. This is what I do. And there was more than one occasion where the manager of the club kind of came to me and set me aside and said, look, you know, we just want you to calm it down a little bit. Keep your people in the machines. Don't take them over to that area and have them doing all your push-ups and burpees and things like that. Just keep them in the machines. And I thought, but they hired me because they don't want to be in the machines. You know, this is how I'm developing inside your gym, and I'm making you money at it. But it wasn't following the corporate profile. So I started taking people into one of the racquetball courts to get them away from where everybody was. And outside the racquetball courts was probably, I don't know, it's a big club, you know, 35 treadmills. And eventually there would only be people on the treadmills right in front of that racquetball court because all they wanted to do was watch what was going on in the racquetball court. But they came to me a second time and said, look, we're not going to have this conversation again. And I talked to one of my clients at that point who was a retired financial advisor for Verizon out here on the East Coast. And he said to me, you know what, Marty, you're meant for something more than this. I would love to put a business plan together for you and help you organize the start of your own business if you're interested in me doing that for you. I thought, oh my God, this is a gift I can't pay back. Please do that. So we met and spent about 2 hours going over a 4-year business plan that he put up for me, and just basically said, look, this is what you have to do. These are the changes you have to make when it's this time. And if you do this right, by the time you get to the end of this business plan, you should be here financially. And so I took the risk.